Hello dear readers and subscribers. With the tremendous amount of art that is being created by artists across the globe, 24/7, 365 days a year, your only chance of earning a living or being noticed as an artist is by standing out, by having a unique voice, a unique style. And in today's video, we're going to talk about the importance of that art style, what it actually means, and how you can find yours. Arguably, the two biggest mistakes an artist can make is first, starting with something entirely new with every single artwork you create, and secondly, repeating yourself over and over again, repeating the same thing endlessly. You might be surprised with this second mistake, because very often the misconception in public opinion is that if you want to enter the art world and work with art galleries, that you have to repeat yourself over and over again. But is that really the case? If we have a look at artists in art galleries or the most successful artists in the art world, you'll notice that their artistic practice is actually very diverse. There is a lot of variety, both in terms of artistic disciplines they practice, with a painter's painter like Michael Boremans also working in video or installation, but also in terms of style. Think of the stylistic evolution of Jonathan Wateridge's first muted palette and very naturalistic visual language, up to his current work, which is more free in line and in color, which continued to intrigue his audience and his galleries. The first thing you need to realize is that there is not a one-size-fits-all. With every artist, this will be different, how the style manifests itself and how the consistency manifests itself. For instance, a couple of weeks ago, we talked about gradients in abstract art, and then if the vision of the artist is exploring, for instance, the meditative experience of painting the gradient, then it is very likely that this will be a more repetitive oeuvre than, for instance, with a multidisciplinary artist who has a very clear vision and looks for various ways to visualize that vision. Still, the artist that will be exploring the gradient and committing his life to it will have a strong diversity in his work. And on the other hand, the artist working in many different artistic disciplines with different aesthetics will have a very consistent vision. So how do they manage this? How do they pull this off? Last year, I published an article and video discussing 6 proven strategies to find consistency in your style. The first strategy is technical consistency, for instance with the case study of Bram Bogaert, who creates his unique mixture of paint, allowing him to explore in terms of motifs, etc., but remaining this consistency because of the substance he's using. A second strategy is visual consistency, for instance with the case study of Yves Klein and his International Klein Blue, allowing him to move between different artistic disciplines from the figurative to the abstract, while remaining utterly recognizable. The third strategy is consistency in presentation, or the way the works are being exhibited in the exhibition space. For instance, using the same frames and having this white margin and text at the bottom of the picture in the case study of Rinus van de Velde, allowing him to shift between his black and white charcoal drawings up to his works in pastel or with colored pencil on paper, depicting portraits, large compositions, still lifes and landscapes, and much more. The fourth strategy was consistency of motifs, for instance the polka dots and pumpkins in the case study of Yayoi Kusama. The fifth strategy is conceptual consistency, for instance with the case study of Christian Boltanski's installations as memorial monuments, allowing him to have very varying aesthetics and using various materials while remaining this consistency of vision. And to conclude, the sixth strategy is intentional inconsistency, for instance with the case study of Gerhard Richter and his ongoing quest in painting, resulting in over 50 large series of different types of works, from photorealism to abstraction, which in we had expressive abstraction, but also his horizontal strips, his color charts, and also his more conceptual paintings of tubes or sheets of metal. When it comes to these 6 strategies, simply using 1 or 2 or 3 is enough to maintain plenty of consistency, to remain recognizable and have this characteristic look and feel when it comes to your work, while being able to explore artistic growth. But make no mistake, this consistency and recognizability is not only commercially driven to please the galleries and so that the art is easy to recognize for the collectors. It is driven by a pursuit of quality. If you would paint 100 different things, it would be a lot of fun. However, they would all be rather mediocre. Whereas if you paint the same thing 100 times, you will be an expert in it. So if you are pursuing true quality and artistic growth, pressing the reset button with every new artwork create is not a good idea, especially if there is something in that first creation. Then don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. As a result, you want to focus on the aspects in your art today that are potentially your future trademarks. It's all about finding the right balance between repetition and development. If you endlessly repeat yourself, there will be no artistic growth. But if you do not repeat a particular aspect, you cannot deepen your artistic skill set, experience, vision, if you do not commit the time and the X amount of paintings or sculptures to it. And it is this process, this development, this deepening that makes the growth and development of an artist so intriguing. So, practically speaking, how can we translate all of this into your artistic process? If you go to the studio tomorrow, first and foremost, I want to ask you the following questions. What is the unique selling point of my work? Where is the current potential in your work to stand out? Or what would you like to stand out with? What intrigues you in art? If you're struggling to do this, I also highly recommend our artist statement generation tool, because it asks all these types of questions that can help you to discover your vision and also guide you to put it into words and to have something solid that you can rely on. It asks questions in terms of your technique, for instance. Do you manipulate your medium in a unique way? Do you use an unconventional surface? What is the combination of your materials? But also in terms of style. Is there a typical color palette? Is there recognizability in the brushwork? Is there a typical texture? Is it mark making or flat? Are there recurring visual motifs? And also when it comes to your subject matter, why do you create art? Is it for contemplation, a creative urge? Is it a meditative act? Is it a therapeutic one in search of catharsis? Do you want to tell a story, a collective one or a personal one? Do you want to make an impact? And many, many more questions. So try to answer these questions to find where the potential lies for your unique selling point, for your way to stand out in the crowd. Having established your vision more or less, because this is something that will change, gradually develop over time based on what you've been experiencing in the studio and also the response perhaps from yourself but also others. Now it is time to get to work and not simply grab a piece of paper and start. You want to plan this slightly, and especially if you're in search to improve your style and your recognizability, it is very useful to do the following exercise. Prepare a series of works. Give yourself a framework in which you can focus on something while also exploring that thing. To be more specific, if you are, for instance, exploring a particular paint substance that you have been developing, reduce the amount of different sizes and the color palette and focus on the substance of paint and how you can manipulate it. For instance, these monochrome blobs in which you experiment with the transparency of that substance of paint. If you are a figurative painter, you can perhaps find an archetypical composition and have subtle variations of it so you can focus more on the technique. Think, for instance, of the works of Kaidonashi, where the brushwork is very much at the center of it and the continuity is being generated by the subject, the portraits, and also by the color palette. When it comes to specific motifs, these series are also very important because it takes you more than one work to be able to call it yours. To own it, you must dedicate time to it. If it is a one-time thing, then it does not really make any sense or generate recognizability. Whereas if you spend a series to it, then it becomes a trademark motif in your practice. And you can create this alphabet of different motifs and perhaps reuse it in future series. Another great benefit of working in a series is that this is the type of body of works in which there can emerge a synergy, because all the works together will be stronger, because it will communicate the vision or the intention of the artist stronger. And this is exactly how Gallery's curator shows. There is an exhibition topic, a concept, this framework as we have just discussed, and then the artworks start to support each other and tell that story with greater significance and be more convincing than if you would see them individually. And as this is how Gallery shows work, only when you have such a series or multiple series ready, then you have something to work with with those galleries. Because if you have a series of isolated individual paintings and perhaps 1 or 2 links are in there, if it is not a coherent series, then it is very difficult to present it, for instance, in a solo exhibition. When the series is ready, reflect on the results of it. Did it turn out as you expected? What interesting accidents occurred that could perhaps be a cause for a new series? And now do not press the reset button, but use this information. You can shift a couple of things, but do not shift everything. And by doing so, you have greater control of your development because you'll be focusing on that 1 or 2 things. That being said, make sure to read or watch the video of last year discussing those 6 strategies because it includes 12 specific case studies to illustrate those strategies, how it works in reality, in practice. And if you are interested in more information and advice for artists, feel free to consult our overview page, contemporaryartistry.com/advice for artists. Furthermore, I want to wish you a Merry Christmas and we'll see each other next week for the last video of the year. Cheers. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Feel free to watch our video on style and consistency explained next. Support us on Patreon and please consider subscribing to stay posted for more contemporary art. Bye.